Yo, what up?
Um,
I'm Chuck, and I'm an LA Lakers fan.
That's right, that's right. Take it back to the hood. It's all good in the hood. It's all good. How's it going there, sir? Look, I want you to check the numbers on the ticker tape, and I'll get back to you at 7. All right?
and I'm Ronnie J, and I'm a Clippers fan.
Thank you. I said, do we have a problem? Huh? Oh, USSR.
And together we are LA Divided.
Divided. LeBron James. In his 19th season, LeBron currently has the Lakers 10th in the West. With current averages of 29, 7, and 6, he's still showing shades of an MVP-like season. Is he doing enough with the roster he put in place, or is LeBron at fault for the team's current struggles?
You got this. Ron, kick him out. You know about basketball. One thing kick him out, Ron. Kick him out.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of LA Divided, NBA United. I am your host, Good Luck Chuck, here with the one and only Ronnie J. What's up with you, man?
What's good? What's good?
Oh, just another day in paradise, you know what I'm saying? Being a Laker fan, obviously, as you guys can see, the player spotlight that we are going to be talking about today is none other than the king himself, LeBron James. All right, so LeBron James obviously is a very polarizing, very, very, you know, I don't even know how to put this, but he is a one-of-a-kind athlete. He is a one-of-a-kind personality, and obviously the NBA hasn't seen the likes of a player like this in a long time. And so, you know, talking about this player spotlight obviously is a touchy subject because this is my team as well. And I just have a very volatile relationship with LeBron James in terms of, you know, what I think of him as a player. And then, of course, like when I met him as a person, you know, it was just a whole different thing. So, you know, like I said, LeBron James, you know, one of the biggest athletes in the world. It's crazy that we're doing a player spotlight about him. But, you know, what are your thoughts on, you know, what the situation is?
I mean, obviously one of the league's best right now, even still to this day, 19 seasons in. I mean, he's a athlete above athletes. I mean, it just this goes off the court as well. I mean, his personality, you know, his mentorship, I guess we can say, you know, as even as being a father. I mean, he's definitely transcended the league. His play is, you know, I mean, you know, we can go on and on with the list. I'm sure we'll be doing another spotlight on him, you know, once everything is said and done, potentially with the, you know, how the season may end for the Lakers. I'm sure we'll be doing another player spotlight on LeBron, or, you know, touching on him. But I mean, you know what I'm saying, he's an incredible player, still top 10 in my opinion. You know, he's still a big part of the game right now. So, you know, it's a good spotlight to have. But unfortunately, right now, player spotlight is bringing team struggles.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, as I mentioned before, this is a little bit of a bittersweet moment because I think LeBron James deserves his flowers. I think that he's done, you know, more than enough when you talk about putting the Lakers back in the spotlight. You know, for those of the people who have followed the Lakers, you know, over the years before LeBron got there, they know that end of Kobe's era was a little painful, but it was, I mean, amazing, you know, how Kobe left us in terms of, you know, his last game at Staples when he put on a performance like no other, scoring 60 points on 50 shot attempts. And he went out Kobe-like, you know what I'm saying? He went out Kobe-like, he went out the way I think he was supposed to go out. And then, of course, the tragic news about what happened to him, you know, years after, you know, was kind of a real dark spot on the Lakers as a whole and the Laker franchise. And I'm saying that because, you know, for those like I said, who followed those Laker teams afterwards, we went through a lot of painful years. One year, I think we only won 26 games. Another year, we only won 29 games. And so, that allowed us to make, some very key draft picks, Brandon Ingram being one of them, along with, of course, Lonzo Ball. Julius Randle was a little bit before that, but these are all young core players that were either let go or used in a trade to get Anthony Davis. And I touched on this when we covered our 2017-18 Lakers,
Right.
The LA Times, that we covered on that. And, from that moment on, I asked myself, I said, based on what the events that we're seeing today, I asked myself this question, today, is LeBron the reason the roster is like this? And so, let me ask you, let me open that up to you, because I know what my thoughts are, and obviously I'm about to go off, but I want you to be able to, say your piece and kind of maybe it'll change my perspective, because I'm telling you, the way I'm viewing it now, I know my answer. So what's your answer? Is LeBron the reason the roster is this way?
100%. I mean, because we've seen a pattern everywhere that he's, being, he's a top player. Top players in the league are usually always going to get a say. So of who they want on a team or who they can potentially go and get, trade for this person, even as far as personnel on the sidelines. So yeah, definitely LeBron has definitely been put in place. There's always been a core, certain amount of players who he's always wanted to play with. One of being Melo. I never really heard about the Russ Westbrook until just right before the season was starting. But yeah, he's 100% responsible for the team roster as it is right now. I mean, obviously, with the exception of like some of the role players and stuff like that, you got to have them. But I would have definitely assumed he would have wanted some, a few other pieces. But needless to say, he's definitely, I'm not going to say 100%. That's a little strong. But he definitely has a high impact of where the team roster sits right now. So, I mean, with that being said, I'll let you take the floor.
Listen, man, you hit it on the head when you said this is a pattern. And I knew from the beginning, when Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka took over, because basically Dr. Buss's son, Jim Buss, had took over the team after Dr. Buss had passed away. And this is where I say real Laker fans only apply here, and I know you're from LA. So I know that you've heard a lot of this. Maybe you haven't looked into it, or it wasn't as big of a deal for you. But for me, when Dr. Buss passed away, you saw decisions being made by the Lakers that you was just like, why is this happening? And I'm talking about the Nick Young, Jeremy Lin era. We can go back to that. A lot of decisions that was being made, even with Kobe Bryant still being there. You can just tell that no one was really feeling the Lakers or willing to go to the Lakers for a certain amount of time. And I want to say it was anywhere like right around that Dwight Howard, Steve Nash team that didn't work out, where they joined Kobe and Powell. We were supposed to get Chris Paul, and then that got nixed. That was such a down era. And then we lost Dr. Buss within that era. And so you just didn't know, because you understood that the Lakers had a system. They had a model of, we're going to draft talent, and then we are going to go out and get the biggest free agent signing we can get. And, as I mentioned that, and, it just felt to me that, like I said, that model we were going away from that. So when Magic came in and we had a few draft picks, because after Kobe had left, I mean, we had D'Angelo, we had all our draft picks. You know what I'm saying? Like, we weren't that team that was mortgaging our future in order to clean house. We were not doing that. Even back in the day, I told people we were not doing that. Kobe was drafted. Whether you want to believe he was drafted by the Lakers or traded to the Lakers because it was officially a trade, Kobe had not played an NBA game for any team until he went to the Lakers. So therefore they drafted him, You know what I'm saying? They were building around him. They saw something in him. They saw something in Derek Fisher. They saw something in Devin George. They saw something in Andrew Bynum. These are players that when they went somewhere, when they went elsewhere, they did nothing. They did nothing. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yet with LeBron, there's countless examples of players going off and doing better after dealing with him. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. This whole young Lakers core that played with him that first year that he was here, they all went off and went to be big contributors that we could have used on our team. They went in and they became big contributors elsewhere. Now, you know, I understand it's the bright lights of LA. You have to perform. You have to, and if you're not the guy, you got to get out of there. But it just felt like we rushed the process. You know how Philly said, trust the process? I felt like the Lakers said, rush the process.
Absolutely. And, you know, unfortunately, that's one of the things I really don't like about Lakers in general. I mean, as far as the fans, especially the fans that really don't know basketball, but just know that they got those championship banners hanging up there, because the Lakers fan base has a win now mentality. There's never any process. They figure that you know, because of the Lakers history, they have to go out and get the best talent that's available at that time, and they demand the championship, which is why we are, you know, why we're looking at where the Lakers are at right now. Fans are unhappy. I mean, there has been many times where I've heard boos in Staples, now Crypto, but the you know, the way that the fashion that they're booing right now, and the body language of the Lakers right now is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And I mean, as a fan of basketball, I mean, I'm watching and I'm sitting here saying to myself, like, wow, I mean, I personally can't believe this is happening. And this is not essentially my team. I mean, obviously, you know, undercover Lakers fan, I guess you can say. I mean, I've always been rooting for them when they get to the finals, especially depending on who they are playing against. But there's definitely a struggle right now, and I feel as just a basketball fan, once again, it's definitely time for the Lakers to push the panic button. And once again, we're at that bridge of trying to figure out whose fault it is. Is it LeBron's? Is it the coaching, or is everyone else going to be to blame based upon what decisions that they allowed LeBron to help make?
Well, I know the button the media is pushing.
Yeah. I
know the button that some of these fans are pushing. Mm-hmm. And that's why, you know, when Shaq came in '96, right? This whole follow a player wasn't a big thing quite yet. I felt like that was something that, you know, like MJ, let's be honest, MJ is probably the first player that people followed, whether or not he played in their city. Mm-hmm. I think every, you know, for the most part, if people like basketball, if they had a favorite player or a favorite team, right, it usually was local. I felt like MJ, Michael Jordan, was the first player to really truly like transcend fandom. And so when you have an athlete like Michael Jordan and he leaves the game, right, now you start to get these fans that are looking for either new players to follow or new teams. And we're talking about Jordan had fans in the millions. So this is millions of people shifting their focus, right? And there are people that they didn't like Kobe because they liked MJ. It had nothing to do with how Kobe played or the fact that he was a Laker or anything. They just was like, bro, my loyalty's to MJ, so I can't be a Kobe fan. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I wasn't a Kobe fan in the beginning. In fact, I was a Shaq fan more than anything, but I was a Shaq fan because he was with the Lakers. When he was with Orlando, I don't remember a contingency of people following him and saying, well, if he don't win a title here, you know, then he's going to be gone in a few years. Like nobody was putting that pressure on, you know, a franchise like that, especially a franchise like the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, you can talk that shit to Cleveland. You can talk that shit, you know what I'm saying? You can even talk that shit to Miami, although Riley gonna talk that shit right back. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, so at the end of the day, and that's why I feel like LeBron, what he did when he went to Miami and he made the decision, and all of those fans followed him, and all of the scrutiny followed him. Listen, I'm not saying that LeBron is a bad player, because people will bring up his numbers. They'll say, well,
Yeah.
he's averaging 29, 9, and 9. Listen, there's a difference between averaging points, because you can average points on a bad team. You can average assists, you can average steal, especially when you look at the fact that LeBron has the ball in his hands 80% of the time.
Yeah.
And this is where I tell people, you want to know why Russ is struggling? By the way, 18, 7, and 7 is what Russ's averages are. I guarantee you any point guard in the league outside of Steph Curry, Ja Morant, and a few of the elite point guards, but any of these lower level point guards would take that in a fucking heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that, Russ is 18, 7, and 7, right? And he has the ball probably 50% less of the time than he had it in Washington and he had it in OKC. 50% of the time less, he has it. So anytime he gets the ball, he's got to either make a move to the hole or make a play. Otherwise, it's give it back to daddy, give it back to LeBron. You know what I'm saying? So he could dribble, stare in the fucking corner and pull a 30-footer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you are right about that. And one thing that I can't, so when I have these discussions, once again, I don't get an opportunity to talk to a real basketball head every day. So sometimes when I'm, just having regular conversations with the average fan or, Laker fan, the conversations is not the same. And, the point that you just made about Westbrook, I thought they brought Westbrook in. Well, and with Westbrook and Rondo, when they had him at the time, I thought both of them were brought to take the ball out of LeBron's hands. How is it seeming that is finding how's the ball finding its way back to him? Does he not want to relinquish that role? Like what is it about it? I mean, because once again, we're talking about numbers. His numbers are still, like I say, his numbers are still, averaging to what can be considered an MVP like season. LeBron is still showing the averages, but begs the question of which I've brought up many times. And like I say, Laker fans always get mad when I bring up this conversation. I don't understand why. It's a valid point. Is LeBron here to just chase his stats in a Lakers uniform, or is he here to produce wins and championships, as Laker fans are accustomed to, which is one of the biggest reasons of why true Laker fans never really wanted him here in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. I think originally, and don't get me wrong, like this is what I'm saying. If AD's not hurt, but that's always the caveat. If AD's not hurt, well, guess what? He's always hurt. So I think the plan initially was that LeBron was going to be able to win 2 or 3 in a Lakers uniform, having one of the top 5 big men. And then the fact that you had an opportunity to even get Russ, right, to absorb that contract. Because what I've told people is Russ makes more than LeBron from the Lakers. Russ is making $44 million this year. LeBron's making 41. Okay, so at the end of the day, it is about LeBron understanding that he can only control the narrative if he controls the ball, and he controls shots. And so that's where I think when Russ was brought in, a lot of it had to do with him being able to take over the team once LeBron went to the bench. But the fact is that Russ is not playing with the same level of talent. Russ is not a second unit guy. I've heard people talk about, Russ coming off the bench. Russ is a attacking guard, and attacking guards either look to hit the rim or they look to dish off to somebody wide open, a la OKC, and why he won that MVP the year he did, averaging the first triple-double that had been seen since Oscar Robertson, excuse me. So this is what people don't understand about Russ and Russ's game. So when Russ came here and everybody say, oh, it won't work, I said, it will if LeBron gives him the ball, it will work. But LeBron can't do that, because then that means that LeBron would have to average 22 points. And it's going to take him another 4 years to pass Kareem if he averages 22 points. So LeBron knows that in order for me to beat Kareem coming up next year and become the all-time points per game leader, I need to shoot 20 times a game. How can I shoot 20 times a game if I got this guy, Russ, who not only does he want to get himself involved and get himself going, but he wants to dish out so he can get those assists as well. And I'm not a spot-up shooter guy. I'm not that. So I need the ball. So Russ, go stand in the corner. And when I pass it to you, you shoot it so I can get my assists.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's hard to play like that. It's hard to take your game and have it be one way and then completely change it. We saw what happened in Houston when he tried to do that. It didn't work. So it's like, yeah, I'm not one of those delusional Laker fans who believe, you know what I'm saying, well, you know, I think he was here to win for us and only us. No, he was here. He was in the epicenter of it all. The Lakers get to continue their dominance with the top 5 players, at least 4 of the 5 that are in the top in scoring have all worn a Laker uniform at one point in time in their career, except for Michael Jordan. That's the only player that didn't play that's not in the top 5. And so I don't know how they're going to end up getting Kevin Durant there. But that I assume if they want to keep the trend going, they'll make their way to getting him in there too, if that's the model. But yeah.
Well, you know, I definitely want to circle back. I was writing down some notes so I wouldn't forget. And I want to circle back to the comment you made, which might be a segue into the Lakers struggles, unless you want to continue on with your LeBron rant. So the injuries that, you know, unfortunately are a part of the game. But once again, now as we're looking at, you know, the entire NBA, and like I said, I just noted down a couple of things. So, okay, AD is hurt right now. Lakers are 10th in the West. Okay. We have my team who are missing 2 players, just a couple of games ahead of the Clippers or of the Lakers. We're not going to really make a big deal about that. But then you got Ja Morant. He's the main star of his team. Granted, their system is in place, and that's the reason of why they're having that team success. But then there's 2 other players that stick out in my mind right now. You got Joel Embiid, who is facing a lot of team scrutiny. You know, it was a lot of conversations every day. It just did not go away. And his team is top 5 in the East right now. Then you have Steph Curry, who also was missing one of their key players. And they're what are they right now? First, second, third? I know they're in the top 3. I can't remember the standings because they always fluctuate. But, you know, they're definitely at the top of the West. So with that being said, what's going on with the Lakers? Like, what's going on with, like, why can't they put it together and be at a better place than the 10 spot right now?
Well, I'll use your points you gave in terms of talking about the players you use. Steph Curry, right? When you look at their system, Steph Curry gives up the ball to get it back. He gives up the ball. He relocates to a spot. The whole team sets screens for him, and he finds an open shot. Or he just gives up the ball, period. He lets guys like Wiggins shine. He lets guys like Jordan Poole shine. He lets guys like Clay come in and shoot 23 shots in his first game back after injury. That's the kind of player that Steph is.
Yeah.
Unselfish. Okay. Then you go to Joel Embiid. He's a big man. So most of the time he needs somebody to get him the ball. And you know what the scheme of the 76ers is? Get Joel the ball. like that's their scheme. So therefore, at the end of the day, Joel, who's not a selfish player at all, if he's covered, he's going to pass it right out. And Joel gets tired, and he's going to sit on the bench for about 20 minutes of the game. You know,
Yeah.
so that's going to allow other players to get touches and get shine, right?
Yeah.
That's why your Tyrese Maxey's and your Seth Curry's before he was traded to Brooklyn, and that's why James Harden. You know, when we talked about Philly, James Harden's going to fit right in there like a glove. He's going to, because at the end of the day, those shots got to go to somebody, because we know Ben Simmons wasn't taking them. So at the end of the day, that's why Philly works the way it works. I'll do you one better. Look at the player he played tonight. Look at Luka Doncic.
Luka,
right?
yeah.
Luka, under Rick Carlisle, Luka brought the ball down. Luka dribbled the ball. Luka waited either for somebody to get open or he took the ball himself. And where did that get the Mavs? Nowhere. If anything, it drove a wedge in between him and Porzingis. And I'll tell you this, I remember bubble playoffs, Porzingis and Luka together, right? Porzingis couldn't stay on the floor. It almost looked like they was going to beat your Clippers. It really did. And so to me, it's like, no, that's the model, right? It's Luka or bust. And that's what the Lakers have become. We've become LeBron or bust. He determines or dictates who gets the ball. He determines when he's going to shoot the ball, when he's going to take over, when he's going to let somebody else take over. And you know as well as I know, playing with guys like that, you can never find your rhythm because you never know when it's going to be your turn. You're like, oh shit, he finally want to pass it? Oh shit, let me try to get off. Oh, I'm cold because I haven't shot since the first quarter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's things like that where I think to myself, this is why most of these people haven't played basketball in their life. Okay, if you've played basketball, you understand there is a rhythm to the game. There is flow to the game. There is something to be said about a player, right, who just gets to touch the ball. Just let me touch it, right? And I'm gonna give you my effort on defense. If you throw me the ball, I'm gonna give you my effort on defense, bro. You play. I remember you played with a guy in high school by the name of Frank. You know what I'm saying? I won't say his last name, but I remember going to a lot of them varsity games. And that was probably the worst varsity team we had in our tenure there. Why? Because the dude shot the ball all the damn time and no one else got an opportunity. So, of course, you're going to be 1 in 10. Doesn't matter what your talent level is.
Well, we weren't 1 in 10, but I understand your point. But, you know, getting back to, you know, if we can once again shift focus, I know it's a team spotlight or a player spotlight, but we definitely have to talk, you know, about the team itself because, you know, when we did the video for the All-Star, I wanted to kind of touch on the second, you know, part of the season, and at the time. I was actually going I would have probably, you know, I'm trying to gain my thoughts here. I was probably going to surprise you with the picks that I actually had. I was expecting for the Lakers to actually turn around a season. Looking at the schedule that they had after the All-Star break, and once again, you know, they did get a win before the All-Star break against Utah, who I feel that if the Lakers would have gotten to a specific seed and had to face a Utah, things would have just shifted because for whatever reason, Utah just can't beat the Lakers. So with that being said, the Lakers are currently in the last 10 games, they're 3-7. They've, including tonight, currently on a 3-game losing streak. That could have easily just been five and they're split. They could have split those last 10 games easily. After All-Star break, they had who did they play? They had the Clippers, they had the Pelicans, and then they had Dallas. Okay. Now, mind you, they are playing the Clippers. They had the Clippers twice within a couple of weeks span. I think we play each other again this coming Saturday. I was pretty much in a mindset that we were going to split those games. So with that being said, if they would have came out with the All-Star game, especially, remember, LeBron came with some momentum after hitting that game-winning shot in the All-Star game But of course, he came back with some controversy. If they could have won that game against the Clippers, a game they should have won against the Pelicans, and a winnable game against Dallas, as you see. I mean, it was, they allowed things to get out of hand before in the second quarter, but then, coming out in the third on that rally, that was a winnable game. So we could have the Lakers could have potentially been on a 3-game winning streak and then coming to face a Golden State and then again the Clippers. Now it's the complete opposite. So now you got to face a Clipper team that just beat you, and you have to face it against a tough Golden State team that's currently, just Steph is just playing ridiculous. What do you like? What's your outlook on what's going to happen in the next couple of games and for the remainder of this season, kind of looking ahead with the schedule that they have in place, which is one of the toughest in the league right now?
Honestly, man, when I look at these games, all of the Lakers outside of the Pelicans game, and then I believe they played a Bucks game, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to look at it. Where those are the only 2 blowouts. All these other games have either been 1-possession games or games where the Lakers had the advantage going into the final few minutes and have just lost it. And I made a comment, tonight where, man, like, I don't want to say this because I don't want to ruin the sanctity of the game, and I don't want to, put that out there, but it almost looks like LeBron is throwing these games, man. I'm going to be honest with you. Just when you look at these turnovers, he had a possession tonight where he was wrestling with the dude. He's got his arm out, like trying to reach for the ball. He's like, yo, ball, right? And then he slaps the guy's hand, and then fucking Russ or one of the players throws the ball to him as he's slapping the dude's hand, and the ball goes out of bounds. And It's like, this is where, like, LeBron is not a rookie. LeBron is not, he's a very cerebral player, and he's usually very calculated down the stretch. We know he passes up shots in the final quarters. There was one game where he passed it off to Melo, and Melo missed the last second shot. And so we know that. We know LeBron does that. That's not my concern. It's all the events leading up to that. It's all of the erratic shooting, all of the fadeaway step back 2 on you. You're not Kobe, bro. You're not making these shots. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that to me, that's where I know some of these Laker fans don't truly watch the games. And don't get me wrong, I don't even watch the games no more. I can't stomach the games. But sometimes I just turn them on because, I'm like, oh shit, it's a close game. You know what I'm saying? And then I'll go back and I'll watch the highlights and I'll see why the game got out of hand. And I'll see why, because I'll see when the other team is making their baskets, right? I'll see LeBron in the key. That's his rotation. That's his assignment. And I'll see LeBron in the key do this. And they hit the shot. And I'm like, that right there is the effort. That right there is the reason why boos rain down. People want to say, well, LeBron's, he's averaging, you know what I'm saying? You want me to go real quick? I'm going to just do this real quick. When LeBron left Cleveland and went to Miami, the season before, we know he lost to the Celtics. I think it was either in the conference finals or the second round. One of those 2, right? He loses. LeBron averaged 30 points, 7 assists, and 7 rebounds and 8 assists his last season in Cleveland, the first time around, the first go around when he left and made the decision, right? He came back to Miami, he averaged 27, 7, and 7, right? Great numbers. But you're on a team with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. We all knew Chris Bosh was the one that eventually ended up sacrificing. They said, who gonna sacrifice? It was Chris Bosh. Right. We all knew it, right? Chris Bosh averaged like 14, 15 points. He gave up majority of his shots. You know what I'm saying? And Dwayne Wade still averaged 26, 25 points a game. But they lost. And the reason they lost is because Wade was like, playoff time is my time, bro. Like, that's money time. And what it was doing was it was ruining LeBron's legacy. So what did he have to do? He had to come back the next season, and he had to say, Wade had to say, LeBron, it's your team, right? So what did LeBron do? In those championship years, he averaged less points and more assists. He averaged 26, 8, and 7 before he left Miami. Similar numbers. He's keeping it consistent. But you can see the assists go down and the shot attempts and the points go up whenever he feels he doesn't have enough help. So it's like, bro, Russ has never taken less than 18 shots since his rookie year. He's got 14 shots a game this year. So he's the Chris Bosh of the bunch, right? But Anthony Davis ain't even been healthy. So it's not like, why can't we get Russ up to 18 shots a game? Why can't we get Russ bringing down the ball at least 40% of the time? Let him, dictate or determine where the ball is going to go. Why don't you sit in a fucking corner, LeBron? That's where I am with it, because it's like, I can't answer to why the Lakers, and I can tell you this right now, they could run the table. Just so you know, if LeBron was able to truly play up to his potential in terms of being a court vision guy that gets a lot of people involved. I think about his last few years in Cleveland, the second go around, when he was playing with Kyle Korver and J.R. Smith, right? Remember that? Mm-hmm. He took those teams to the finals. He averaged more assists with those teams than he did in Miami, because he was the dictator. He was the signal caller, right? This is what led Kyrie to want to leave, because Kyrie's like, wait a minute, I'm the point guard. Like, this dude got me standing in the corner. You know what I'm saying? Like, but at the end of the day, LeBron surrounded himself with role players that could shoot. That's why you heard all of these announcers saying, wait a minute, nah, this ain't LeBron's roster, because LeBron usually surrounds himself with shooters. But LeBron is playing in the West now. And you can't just have shooters and no defenders. You can't just have guys that stand on the wing, but they can't give you nothing on the other end. So that's why we're seeing the effect we're seeing. So I'm not judging the Lakers based off of how they handle these last few games, because they are going to make the play in. And honestly, man, I wouldn't even be surprised if they won the play in. And if they okay. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so that you just kind of led into my next question. I wasn't really going to get into anything. I was just going to ask you. So with that being said, the way how it's playing out, looking at the bottom teams, I feel the same way. The Lakers are going to be in the play-in. But with that being said, and I'm trying to pull up the stats right now to see who, potentially the current standings. If the Lakers make a play-in, they would probably have to face either a Golden State or a Memphis. What happens? What happens with that?
I mean, they lose to Golden State, but they can potentially beat Memphis.
I feel the same way. I'm sorry. Phoenix.
Well, listen, like that would be dependent on Chris Paul's health. I wouldn't say. Listen, even Golden State, honestly, to me, is beatable by the Lakers. The problem is that we're not going to know what AD looks like when he gets back, but we know he isn't going to be in shape, and we know he's not going to be 100%. And you need 100% of your horses if you're going to face Phoenix or Golden State. I'm not, like I said, this year's a wash. This year I've given up, regardless of the situation. Even if they went off and they won, let's say they upset, like the chances of them running through the whole West playoffs from an 8 seed is nearly impossible. It's nearly impossible. I'm not going to say it can't be done, but to turn around and beat the amount of teams, good teams, you're going to have to beat to reach the finals. And then if you get Milwaukee or a healthy Brooklyn on the other side, listen, I love to be an optimist. Like I told you, I go back and I watch those Laker games, even though I say every single day, I'm like, I ain't gonna watch it. But then I find myself sitting down and next thing I know, I'm watching it. Right. And like I said, the Lakers are in these games. They're in these games with elite teams. They don't beat the teams they're supposed to beat. They don't show up for the Pelicans games. They don't show up for those games. They don't show up whenever it's a player that is like, and you know what, I'm gonna bring this up. I remember when Kobe used to play LeBron. This when LeBron was first in Cleveland. This was 2007, 2008. Cleveland versus the Lakers, Christmas Day game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And LeBron come out and give us 35, 11, and 8, and Cleveland blow us out, right? And it's like the sky is falling. We don't know what we're gonna do. It's clear that Kobe doesn't have enough, right? LeBron's the best player in the league now. But I always knew that's regular season. When it's money time, and when you truly like, and that's where like people don't understand the difference between how you prepare for the playoffs versus how you prepare for the regular season. You got another game tomorrow. You got another game in a couple of days. So you got to shake off this loss. And that's why, you know, like I don't judge the Lakers based off of that. It's when you really prepping for players and you're really trying to take away their strengths and they're trying to take away yours. How do you prepare for that? And the Lakers beat Phoenix a couple games in that first round, and it looked like they were going to run away with that game or that series. But then AD got hurt again. You know what I'm saying? Like so. What are we talking about here if we can't have a healthy whole roster?
So the way we're looking at it right now, with the Lakers, okay, so the Lakers, the 7th place team right now, Minnesota, is currently at 34 wins. The Lakers are at 27 wins right now. Even if they turn on a switch, which I'm still believing that the Lakers can turn on a switch, but even if they do turn on a switch and get some wins, I still think it would be somewhat hard to catch Minnesota if Minnesota keeps at the pace that they playing right now. I don't have their schedule in front of me, but once again, we're just talking in perspective of the Lakers having the one of the toughest schedules to close out the season. So with the Lakers currently being at the spot they are now, you've called it. You don't think that they have the ability to turn on the switch, get AD back healthy, possibly be at the A spot, play Phoenix, pending on Chris Paul's status, and coming up with some kind of miraculous finish to the season? You've given up all hope on that?
Listen, would I watch? Am I gonna watch? Am I gonna?
Oh, you gonna watch?
Yeah,
you definitely gonna watch.
Yeah. But I would say no. I would say no. I don't see it. I don't.
Yeah.
And outside of LeBron completely rehauling his whole game, and the Lakers in some way, shape, or form, being confident with that, I just don't see it. I definitely don't see it this year. Next year, LeBron will be a year older, at least a half a step slower, you would think, but who knows with this guy. But it's clear to me that he's lost some of his command on the game. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a thing, right? Like think about Jordan in the Wizard years, right? Jordan was still one of the top guards in the league, even at his age. Even at 40, 41, playing for the Wizards, he was averaging like 22 a game. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing, right? Jordan was a bucket getter. Kobe was a bucket getter. Magic was a passer. And LeBron was supposed to be a combination of both of them.
Both, yeah.
Right? But for some reason, he's lost his quote unquote magic. And I think that once Magic left this organization, once that whole situation happened because I'm telling you right now, the vision, Magic saw the formula. Magic saw the vision. He saw, hey, we're getting Lonzo Ball in here. He's going to be the new me. He's going to be in charge of getting everybody involved. And he's like, with these other guys, now we got our big free agent. We got LeBron. We got the team, and we surrounding the team around the players that we need. And I remember that Lakers team that year, I think it was 2019, they whooped Golden State's ass on Christmas Day. LeBron pulled his groin in that same game. and had to leave
I
the game.
remember that.
A month later, Lonzo injured his ankle. The Lakers were in fourth place. They were in fourth place at that time. So it wasn't like this was a bad team. There was just some bad breaks that happened along the way. And so that's where, like I said, after that season, we mortgaged our future. Magic said, I ain't going to be here. And the whole thing changed. Yes, we won a title. And everybody's like, well, y'all got a title, though. Y'all won a title. That's what y'all wanted. No, it's not what we wanted, because that's not what the Lakers settle for. When we go to the finals, bro, we usually go to the finals a couple times in a row, or a couple times. We go in bunches. We don't just go one time and then that's it. We go in bunches. We usually dominate an era. In the 80s, we went 7 times. We went 7 times in the 80s. In the 90s, we went once, but we were rebuilding. And that's where, when people say, oh, the Lakers are so spoiled, man, they always expect to be in the championship. No, in the 90s, we went one time. And we were okay with that. Because you know why we were okay with that? Because we saw a team that was giving effort and building and working with something. We saw a young Nick Van Exel. We saw a young Eddie Jones. We saw a young Eldon Campbell. We saw, you know what I'm saying, George Lynch. We saw all of these cats coming in, and we say, hey, man, we building something. You know, if we make a move for that Shaq dude, we might be all right. Right. We did that. And then we made key trades, and we were right there. And guess what? We went to the finals the next 4 out of the 5 years, and the next 3 years. We went in bunches. Right. Then it was a down period. It was a down period in 04 through 06. Then we got Gasol. Then we went back 3 times. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, people want to act like the Lakers. No, we just like teams that you put out there that we can get behind and we can root for them. But when LeBron is shipping out players like their Amazon packages, you know what I'm saying? You can't get used to nobody. You can't buy nobody else's jersey. Shit, you can't even buy his jersey. Change his number every 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't get invested around any of these players, because you know the minute that you do, you know, if they not signed to Clutch Sports, they not going to be there. Yeah.
Well, with that being said, I mean, you pretty much gave your take on what the Lakers season, or your opinion for the rest of the season. So we'll just kind of shift focus back to LeBron in the player spotlight. So I'll open another question and get your opinion on LeBron's future, I guess we can say, with the Lakers, because of, again, as I mentioned earlier, you know, after the All-Star game, there was some talk of him saying he hadn't closed the door on options of coming back to Cleveland. Do you think that comment is have any relevance to the team's under success, I guess you should say, right now?
No, go, please. By all means, go. Figure out a way to get there. Get there early. We'll buy you a plane ticket. You know what I'm saying? like here's the thing. Like, first of all, and this is why I say this is a different generation, because when we heard the stories, of when Kobe publicly went on Stephen A. Smith and said, I would like to be traded, right? Yeah. Do you know that Dr. Buss and Jerry West and all of these Laker greats, Magic Johnson, they all called Kobe and said, bro, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? We don't do this. We don't do this publicly. You know what I'm saying? Like especially, like, there's a Laker way of doing shit. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I am with that shows you that's how far that the Laker franchise has fallen from grace, is now they don't even have the leverage on their own players. You know, you remember when it was like, yo, the organization, they got all the power. They can decide when a player, you know, is going to stay or leave or whatever. Not when you're dealing with LeBron. It don't work that way, you know. And of course, LeBron always got to keep his options open. Shit, I even heard AD talk entertaining Chicago while he was in a Laker uniform. He had just got there. I think they asked him, like, after the championship, I wouldn't rule out an opportunity of going to Chicago. Like, no Laker players ever said this before. And that speaks to the organization and their unwillingness to get players that actually want to be Lakers and be in LA and be a part of the fabric of the city. That's where LA fandom is different than any fandom. When you look at LA and you drive around LA, you see the murals, you see the flags, you see people with fucking. I've seen people painted cars. You know what I'm saying? All kinds of stuff because of the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? Very inspired by the Lakers. LA is the Lakers, and the Lakers are LA. You know, and I feel like, you know, as of late, you know, dare I say it, but the Clippers have shown a lot more of being a part of the fabric of LA than the Lakers have. You know what I'm saying? They seem to speak more to the city and the people of Los Angeles in terms of their hard work, saying, hey, we may not be the best team. We may not have our best players here, but we're going to give you effort every single night. Come and see us play. Come and watch us play and be entertained, because we're going to give you guys that are out here to perform and give you effort every single night.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. That's the, you know, I've never really heard a Laker fan openly admit that. But that just comes with the frustration that's going on with you and the team right now. So, well, and then I guess
I'm also a fan of basketball in general.
Oh, well, yeah.
Good basketball at that. I don't just, you know, stop the button at my team, the remote at my team.
Right. So with that being said, and I mean, I guess we can kind of wrap it up and close it up, unless you got more that you want to say, because I'm listening. So with everything that you just said, who do you believe is at fault? Is this a franchise problem as of right now, or is this a LeBron problem that the franchise will be able to fix once he's out the door?
I don't think, and I think me and you had this talk the last time we touched on the Lakers, and I told you, I said, I don't want Laker fans to become delusional Cowboy fans. Okay. We don't have a first round pick until 2027. We're in 2020, we're in the 2021-2022 season. So that means that we have to go at least 5 seasons without an opportunity to rebuild. LeBron is up from his deal next year. Okay.
Right.
AD is right behind him the year after that. I believe Russ is done, if not next year, at the end of this year at some point, right? The Lakers are not going to be able to fix this in the 2020s. Okay, we will not see a consistent dominant Laker team until probably 2030, if we're even still playing basketball, you know, at that point. Who knows what the world will look like then? But if the world isn't still intact and you know, they ain't did anything dumb, and NBA basketball still being played, the Lakers will not be competitive in terms of actually winning a championship and being contenders until my son graduates high school and he's in the 4th grade right now. And that's just my belief. As far as who's at fault, I mean, Rob Pelinka, Rich Paul, LeBron, Jeannie Buss, Kurt Rambis, they all at fault. It's a blame pie. They all get a piece of the pizza. But LeBron gets the biggest slice because this is the team that he built, and he took his model and what he decided he wanted the Lakers to look like and when he wanted them to look like it. And now he's paying for it. He's got that good you know, steak dinner that looked so delicious, and when you ate it, it tastes like butter and it was smooth going down. That shit ain't coming out quite right. It ain't coming out right. And that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the after effects of eating that good steak because it wasn't cooked properly or it was spoiled or whatever. And that's the way that I feel as a Laker fan. So yeah, they all get a piece of the blame pie, but LeBron gets the biggest blame. And you know what?
Right.
It looks like the media is going to give him a pass. And this is where I talk about, it's just a difference in generations, because you know what they're saying right now? Leave LeBron alone. Leave. What did he do? What did poor little LeBron do? You know what I'm saying? He doesn't deserve to be ridiculed. He's doing everything that he can. That's what they're saying, right? And you know what I'm saying? LeBron, you said that you were that right there when you won the 2016 championship, that made you the greatest of all time. That's what you said. That's what you said. You said you're the greatest of all time. You deserve to be in the same breath as Michael Jordan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, nobody's arguing that LeBron's prime has been longer than Michael Jordan's. And it is debatable whether or not skill-wise, when you just want to talk about a basketball player, right? You go in a lab, hey, you build the best basketball player you can build, I'm going to build the best basketball player I can build. They probably going to end up like LeBron James more than they would end up like MJ.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, LeBron James is the 10 man. He has no heart. He has no heart. And that's what it boils down to. And that's just on the court. LeBron, respect, man. You come out to Las Vegas, hit your boy up. You know what I'm saying? But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but when it comes to on the court, bro, you don't have that fire that some of the greats had. If you had it, it would be no question that you would be the greatest of all time. But the fact of the matter is that you just don't have it, and that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, well, you heard it here from Good Luck Chuck. The building is on fire. You got to get the women and kids out. But if you feel like the Lakers are going to be struggling for that long, the only thing I can say, is plenty of room here on Clipper Nation. Come to support us, and we'll try to keep the LA afloat.
Listen, I can't do that. I'm sorry. I'll struggle with my Laker faithful. Like I said, I think. Listen, I don't think that they'll struggle. I think at some point they'll have their good spots. Like I said, I took you back to after the Magic era. Those Nick Van Exel teams, Anthony Peeler. I still remember a lot of. They played well, man. They
were fun to watch.
And
they were fun to watch.
Yeah. So it's not like I don't think that we're ever gonna put out good product or teams that have great effort. My issue is that the potential of getting another big star here that's going to carry us into the next generation, and then draft another young, star to go with them and kind of build out that franchise and kind of prolong it. That model is dead. We won't see that repeated, at least not anytime soon by the Lakers, because they seem to want to attach draft picks to every damn trade that they make. And that's why I put us in the position we're in.
Well, we have yet to see what the rest of the season will unfold, and we'll soon see. Like I said, they got a couple of games that's going to be very, very vital to the team season. So we'll see if they'll just give up and close up shop, or we'll see if they'll push and prove you wrong.
Well, with that being said, this has been LA Divided, NBA United, and we are out of here.
Peace.